Hello, and welcome to our second podcast. My name is Mike Clark, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Easy Zimmerman.
Hello, wrestling fans. Welcome to our second episode.
We are Two Wrestling Fans, and, by chance, that is the name of our show.
Outstanding. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing today?
Doing well. We got a lot to talk about in the wrestling world today.
We do. There's a lot of news that has come out over the past week.
Absolutely. Probably, again, the top of the charts this week would probably be the update on Ultimate Warrior's death.
Yes.
The fact that we found out that it was a massive heart attack that he had walking his wife to the car.
Right.
Seeing reports that there's some people that saw it and dialed 911, and the quick response normally would be the thing that would save somebody's life, but unfortunately it looks like it was Ultimate Warrior's time to go. And
yes, unfortunately, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go, and it was his time to go.
Absolutely. So it weighs heavy on everybody's hearts. It was good to see the tribute that WWE put on for him. A lot of sad faces, a lot of people shedding tears on the top of the stage.
I got to tell you, Cody Rhodes kind of really almost made me choke up just by seeing his face.
Absolutely. The vignette that they put on, I think the music they found was absolutely perfect.
Spot on. I don't think they could have found a better song to play. And just seeing those highlights of the Ultimate Warrior reminded me why I was such a huge Ultimate Warrior fan when I was a kid.
Absolutely. And then, we're in the midst of Warrior Week on the WWE Network. One of the first episodes that was aired, we had a little bit of Sting on there. Talking, it wasn't so much as any stories or something, as much as it was just a funny story that he had. It was a quick excerpt of his days with the Ultimate Warrior back in WCW.
Right, the orange juice and tuna fish in a blender.
Yes,
was funny.
I have to admit, when I heard that, I kind of gagged a little bit.
I did too. I can't imagine how that would taste.
I can't either. So, and then also we'll talk about the big Nancy Grace incident that took place. DDP going on, thinking he's going to talk about the life and times of the Ultimate Warrior, and then Nancy Grace takes it a completely different route and ends up putting up a graphic about how every superstar wrestler that died under a certain age was all drug related or steroid related, and included Ultimate Warrior in that.
Yeah, I was very disappointed with Nancy Grace, but I don't know what I expected, because Nancy Grace is Nancy Grace, and she gets an opinion about something before she has the facts, and that is her opinion, and she's going to stick to it regardless of what the facts might show. That's what she's going to stick with. And yeah, she portrayed wrestlers in a very bad light. DDP tried his best to, kind of stay on track with it, but Nancy Grace was just too much for even DDP.
Right, and again, last week we talked about kudos going out to DDP, and again this week kudos, because he tried to take the high road.
He did.
And did a very good job of that.
Yes.
However, Nancy Grace, being Nancy Grace, opens her mouth before getting the facts, and it becomes an open mouth insert foot moment for any normal human being. But as we know, Nancy Grace, doesn't have an open mouth insert foot moment because she's Nancy Grace.
Right. And even after the facts come out, she's still going to stick with her opinion. Even though her opinion is wrong, she's still going to stick with it.
Well, shout out to Nancy Grace. This is complete and utter nonsense on your part. You constantly open your mouth before getting the facts, and I hope at some point in time you learn that you need to keep quiet about issues you know nothing about. And if you listen to this by some off chance, just let us know that. Just to let you know, us at Two Wrestling Fans, we don't really take kindly to that. The WWE's done a lot to try to make their brand of wrestling very family oriented.
Yes.
And cater to a lot of kids. And I don't appreciate the fact that you open your mouth and run it at anything that comes into your mind. So I think you need to probably get your facts checked before you start opening your mouth.
Right. All right, so we got that out of the way. get that off our chests. All right, what do we got next?
Okay, let's talk about a new up-and-coming promotion that Jeff and Karen Jarrett have coming in the Global Force Wrestling. They made a big announcement this week. Forgive me as I cipher through some of my papers here that I got. But they announced this week and have partnered with David Broom and 25/7 Productions out of Los Angeles. David Broom's got production as a producer for The Biggest Loser and has some other big hit reality shows. So looks like they're aligning themselves to be a contender in pro wrestling.
I hope that they are, because that's one thing that the WWF does not have. The WWE does not have any competition out there. I mean, look at TNA. They have their moments, but they cannot sustain those moments for any length of time enough to be considered a contender, a competitor. And to me, it's all about competition, because you had the Monday Night Wars between WCW and the WWE, and that's what made those two promotions so great, because they had to outdo each other. And without that competition, the WWE doesn't have a reason to get real creative and come up with all these new outrageous ideas. So I really hope that the Jarretts in this Global Wrestling Foundation actually it works out well.
Well, we've talked just as friends and fans that TNA they've got the talent, and if they only had the writing staff that the WWE had, they could potentially become contenders, because their talent is some of the time off the charts with the X Division and the things they got going with that part of TNA. All they really need is kind of writing staff.
Yeah. I mean, TNA is talent is abundant in TNA. I'm saying TNA has more actual wrestling talent than the WWE does.
Absolutely. But
their problem is, just like you said, their storylines are not the greatest, and it's not enough to hook somebody to watch, because their storylines, more times than not, are just rehashed storylines that, were done in the WWE, that were done in the WCW. And yes, wrestling storylines are rehashed all the time. The WWE uses old storylines, but they always put some sort of a twist on it to kind of make it interesting. Where TNA, they'll take an old storyline and basically run that same storyline, just with different people. I used to watch TNA all the time. I have to admit, I haven't watched it in a while, just because I got bored with it.
Absolutely, and it tends to happen. We all get kind of bored with what goes on, and you just kind of watch it just because you're used to it. But speaking on the GFW stage front, they've also got now a car in NASCAR, or they're going to have their logo. Hermie Sadler is going to be driving the GFW car in the upcoming week, so they're kind of getting their name out there. I did read an article where they said they had over 500 members on the roster. However, I'm not able to find a actual roster. I can't go to their website. It's very basic at this point in time, and it's just a list of all their announcements to this point. But they are claiming that they've got this huge roster built up, but I can't find who they've got. Now, with that being said, I know they're also focusing on an international flavor of wrestling, so it'd be kind of nice to see some of those, New Japan wrestlers, maybe, hopefully, some luchadors, and see what kind of brand of wrestling they'll bring in with, an international flair.
Right, because Jeff Jarrett is still a business partner with TNA. TNA has a working relationship with, I believe it's New Japan, and they're bringing in some of their talent. So that could lead to, the GWF having some of those New Japan wrestlers on their show. It's, I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see where this is going, because I'm not sure about the 500 member roster. Maybe that's 500 guys that Jeff Jarrett wants on his roster, but whether he's actually reached out to those 500 people and they've all accepted, I don't know. If he does have 500 people on his roster, I don't know how he could possibly have a show and spotlight all 500 wrestlers.
Oh, absolutely. That's a lot of people, but on the flip side of the coin, it'd be great to see just maybe not the same old wrestlers,
right,
week after week,
yes,
or however he plans on.
Some people from New Japan or all Pro Japan down to the CCLL Mexico would be that'd be great to bring them in.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the latest on the Sting situation.
Okay, there's been rumors for well over a year now.
Yes, and every WrestleMania, there's always rumors. For years now, there's been rumors that Sting's coming to the WWE. However, this year, there seems like there may be some truth to it.
Absolutely.
Sting may be on his way to the WWE.
We can only hope. We did see him in on the network this week.
Right.
So, I mean, that's not a lot said because I mean WWE does have a lot of or all of Sting's WCW matches in their library. So, what makes you think that we've got some actual footing in this now, Mike? That he is actually on his way?
Well, there's a couple different things. First, him appearing on the WWE Network was huge because everybody else who has appeared on the WWE Network is a member of the WWE. So, first and foremost, that's that. Secondly, there's been this issue with his contract. The rumor has it that the WWE sent him a contract before WrestleMania and expected him to sign it before WrestleMania. Maybe to appear at WrestleMania, maybe after WrestleMania. But he had a contract sent to his house. He is sitting there in his house on his couch in his recliner watching TV with a recliner with his contract in his hand. I don't know the specifics of the contract, but I got to think he's got to be thinking about signing it.
Absolutely. I think we're looking at everything is on his in his lap now. The ball's in his court, if you will. So I'm I think we're all kind of waiting to see when that contract's going to be signed. Now, there's articles out there that relate on this story, and I know some of them range to that, just like you said, that they were expecting him to sign before WrestleMania. I kind of take it as that he was given the contract and since before WrestleMania, and the WWE is just expecting him to sign it with no real time frame.
Sure.
I think now that at this point in time, the ball's in Sting's court.
It is absolutely in his court.
He signs it. He will be on next week, or he could be on next week, or they could sign it and they can say, "Great, now that we've got you, we're going to wait a little bit because everybody's expecting it, and we're going to make that. We're going to stoke the fire and get the heat drawn on getting you here."
And it could be that they simply just put him in a Legends contract, which doesn't mean that he'll ever be on TV. He could be one of the guys who shows up on the WWE Network to promote something, kind of like he did with Warrior. And that's our Sting experience. I would hate for it to go that way, because I would love to see Sting in a ring for the WWE sometime before he retires.
I think the WWE would be missing out if they signed him to a Legends contract. They would be missing out on what the fans want, what we are expecting, and to sign him to a Legends contract, I think we would all be highly disappointed.
So what you're telling me is that signing him to a Legends contract would not be what's best for business.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't realize Triple H was in the studio with us today, so wow, that's weird.
All right, so if Sting has his contract, the WWE is branching out. They're reaching out to other talent. One of the things Triple H is looking to do is to bring in ex-NFL players. The latest is that Sean Merriman
from the Chargers,
San Diego Chargers, has actually gotten a contract, has signed it, and will be somehow he will be part of the WWE universe at some point. He's going to have to start off in development to learn the craft. But once he learns the craft, will he be a successful WWE superstar? I don't know. I mean, there are football players, ex-NFL players, who have gone on to become great superstars in the WWE industry.
Absolutely. Got Goldberg.
Goldberg was one.
The undefeated streak that he had, and this was not just a WrestleMania streak. This was, week-to-week, show-to-show streak. And then LT had a pretty good, Lawrence Taylor, for those non-football fans, had probably
Not LaDainian Tomlinson?
No, not LaDainian Tomlinson. The other LT.
Tongue twister.
Right, it is a tongue twister. But he had a heck of
his match against Bam Bam Bigelow was awesome. I was very impressed with what he was able to do.
Yeah, it was absolutely just, awe-inspiring to see these guys. I mean, we don't stop there. You've seen Refrigerator Perry in a match before. So, I mean, this might be some untapped talent that you might be surprised.
It could be. Yeah, at the same time, you have to look at the ex-NFL players. How old are they when they leave the NFL? But we have NXT with a bunch of young talent that is learning their craft and learning the WWE way to wrestle and to present themselves. I don't know that getting these ex-NFL players is the right way to go. Maybe for a special appearance or something, or kind of the LT thing at WrestleMania. But as far as bringing an ex-NFL player in, I'm not real sure that I agree with it.
You get somebody that started out fresh out of college, put their time in. You got obviously Peyton Manning wouldn't be a good aspect for wrestling, but
right.
He's just a few years older than I am, at 35, 36, probably going to be his last year. Is that too late? Yeah, is that too late to becoming a professional wrestler?
To become a professional wrestler, as a general rule, yes, that's too late. But then you got to look at guys like DDP. You got to look at guys like Batista, who came in to the wrestling industry late in their life and were successful. But I gotta say, those guys are the exception to the rule. Mm-hmm. If you're going to get into professional wrestling, you got to get into professional wrestling in your late teens, early 20s. Mm-hmm. If you're going to make it, because if you don't, you're going to wait too long. And professional athletes are professional athletes. They're all very good at what they do, but professional wrestling is a different breed of a sport, and injuries happen.
Absolutely.
And bodies don't heal like they used to. I can tell you right now, I get hurt, my body doesn't heal as quick as it did 20 years ago.
Absolutely. Well, you're taking two grueling sports. So, I mean, we all know that there is some scripted material for pro wrestling.
Yes.
But, they do take hard bumps. There is, injuries. You've got John Cena with his injuries. You've seen Sheamus, Edge, Undertaker's got, his injuries, Triple H. And on the flip side of that, so does NFL. So it's one of those things, jumping from the frying pan into the fire with going from the NFL to pro wrestling.
Right. My only concern is the NFL. You got your practices, you got your preseason, and then you got 16 games once a week. But with the WWE, you are putting on a show every night. Every Monday night there's a live show. They do house shows several times a week. They do SmackDown tapings. They do main event tapings. There is no off season in professional wrestling. There is no time for you to go, oh, boy, I kind of really tweaked my knee. Boy, I'm glad I got a week before I got to play again.
Right.
No, you've got to go out tomorrow night and have a match.
Absolutely. So with that being said, Mike, if you were running a promotion and you could go get any former NFLer Name me one that you would like to go grab a hold of and try to sign a contract. Who would you see?
I've got two for you.
Okay.
I got one would be Brian Urlacher, because I think he could just be a force in the ring. Second would be Ray Lewis, because not only could he be a force in the ring, but he could be a leader in the locker room.
Those are two of my top, so that's outstanding. I'm with you 110%. Moving on, let's talk about some up and coming, another up and coming promotion potentially. AMC, American Movie Channel, has picked up Billy Corgan, the lead singer for Smashing Pumpkins. Picked up his untitled wrestling project, and looks like Billy's trying to get in on the wrestling biz.
Yeah, Billy's been trying to get in for a while. He was involved with TNA for a little while. There were rumors a while back that TNA was going to sell TNA. Dixie Carter and the Carter family were going to sell TNA. One of the rumored buyers was Billy Corgan. However, the Carters have come back and said, no, we were never going to sell TNA. But just to have Billy Corgan's name thrown out there. And then I'm really interested in seeing where this goes, because we get this, and then you throw in the Jarrett's promotion, and then maybe this will cause TNA to step up a little bit. This could be a really good time coming up for a wrestling fan.
Absolutely. I mean, Billy Corgan is looks like he's got a promotion right now, Resistance Pro out of Chicago.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm interested to see if AMC is going, if it's going to be about Resistance Pro, or if we're going to go somewhere else. Is it going to be? You said earlier today that you thought it might be a reality-based show, maybe more behind the scenes. So is it going to be that, or is it going to be a real wrestling? We're going to see matches. Time will tell on this. I'm interested to see where this goes. Been a fan of Smashing Pumpkins for a long time, so we'll see what happens.
Just a rat in a cage.
Just a rat in a cage. But with these two up and coming, I say either TNA gets their stuff together, or
they go out of business.
Yeah, do they need to be worried? Should they be worried?
I think they should be worried. Yes, I think they should be worried. I think they should be very worried, because you've got Jeff Jarrett, and then you've got Billy Corgan, and I think they could probably both have a successful with TV. I think they could both become successful. Yeah, TNA should definitely be worried, because TNA is going to become WCW. Everybody's going to be leaving WCW to go to either the Jarrett's or to Corrigan's promotion, and they may not be good enough to go to the WWE, but by golly, they'll make the name for themselves in these other promotions. Maybe they're too old for the WWE, and yeah, I think they should definitely be worried.
So let's change the name for a quick minute from Mike Clark to Mike Carter. What would be the number one thing you would be telling your talent and your writing staff, your support staff in TNA right now? What would be the number one thing you would tell them with these two coming promotions?
We have to step it up. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. We've got to come up with better storylines. I don't know who TNA's writers are. Maybe you just need to can all of them and hire a brand new staff of writers. Years ago, the WWE reached out to Hollywood writers. Maybe TNA should do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
All right. I thought Monday Night Raw was pretty good. There were really two big stories that came out of Monday Night Raw. The first was they're going to determine the number one contender for the Intercontinental title, which Big E holds.
Right. I think they're trying to shine light back onto the IC title.
I think they are too. I think they tried to do that when Cody Rhodes had the belt, and they went back to the old school belt with the white strap. And I think they're trying to do that now again. My problem with the tournament was it was very predictable. So they had the matches set up, and you knew who was going to win each of the first round matches, because they had it set up in a bracket. And as a pro wrestling fan, it's going to be a face versus a heel, a face versus a heel, a face versus a heel.
Typically, yes.
Right. Unless they throw some sort of a curveball in there, but more times than not, they're not going to throw a curveball. So the first match was RVD against Del Rio. You knew that RVD was going to win because the next match was Cesaro versus Mark Henry, and you knew Cesaro was going to win because they were pushing him. They just put Paul Heyman with him. You knew he was going to win his match. So RVD had to win his match against Alberto Del Rio. The other two matches, Sheamus versus Swagger, and then you had Bad News Barrett against Dolph Ziggler. I love Dolph Ziggler. You know I'm a huge fan of Dolph Ziggler, but he never wins anymore. So you knew Barrett was going to win. You knew Sheamus was going to win because he's Sheamus.
Right. And you got Vince McMahon that's very big on the Bad News Barrett
big
character
on it.
right
yes, now. He's very big on Bad News Barrett. He loves that character.
Looking at some of these matches, though, I'd have to say RVD versus Cesaro, that potentially could be one heck of a match.
Yes, it could be, and it should be a very good match. Now, whether they're going to have Cesaro just kind of squash him like he did Mark Henry, didn't really squash him. Mark Henry did get some offense in, but by golly, after 40 European uppercuts, I don't know how anybody is going to get up from it.
Absolutely. So, who do you think is going to come walking out of this? Do you think Big E's going to hold the title, remain the title at Extreme Rules, or do you think it's going to be somebody else?
Well, here's how I see it happening. I think Cesaro is going to beat RVD. Mm-hmm. I think Sheamus is going to beat Barrett. And you're going to have Cesaro versus Barrett to go on, and Cesaro is going to win. And at Extreme Rules, we're going to see Cesaro versus Big E. And I think you're going to see the big swing on Big E. And then you're going to see the King of Swing as the new Intercontinental Champion.
Well, this kind of goes back to your earlier point, heel versus heel. So you're thinking you're going to have Cesaro versus Barrett, and how do you see that working out?
Well, the problem I have with this is that Barrett is they're pushing him.
Mm-hmm.
They're pushing him. They're pushing Cesaro. They're not really pushing Sheamus right now. So I don't think Sheamus losing is going to hurt Sheamus's character.
Okay, I'm with you on it. I think I would love to see Cesaro become the Intercontinental Champion. Hope to bring light back to that and make that stepping stone that it used to be back to the Heavyweight Championship.
Yes. And the other big event that happened on Raw.
Okay.
We saw the return of Evolution.
Evolution.
Randy Orton, Batista, and Triple H.
That's a lethal combination.
It is.
No matter how you put it.
Now to be fair, they did take out the Shield, but to be fair, there was an 11-on-3 match before Evolution even came out, and those 11 guys, the Shield is awesome. But against 11 guys, the numbers game is going to catch up to them, and the numbers game did catch up to them. And then Evolution wants to come out, and it was very cool to see Evolution come out. I guess it was typical Evolution style, you know.
Absolutely. So with the return of Evolution, you've got Triple H,
mm-hmm.
Randy Orton,
yes,
Dave Batista.
Yes.
We're missing one other person. And the question begs to be asked, will we see the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, come back?
I don't know how he can't come back. To me, Evolution is 4 guys. Just like the 4 Horsemen. It's 4 guys. You can have different iterations of the 4 Horsemen, but there's one thing that's always going to be constant about the 4 Horsemen. Ric Flair. With Evolution, I don't think you can put different guys in it. It's just 4 guys. So if you're going to bring back Evolution, how could you not bring back Ric Flair? It's like the Horsemen without Ric Flair.
Let's talk about earlier when we were discussing this week's episode of Two Wrestling Fans. We were talking about how we're going to see Ric Flair come back. So give me your version. I'll tell my version, and we'll see what happens here. What's your version? How do you see Ric Flair coming back?
Well, I think it would be great at Extreme Rules. We got the 3-on-3 tag match, right? Evolution versus the Shield. I think it would be great. Shield comes out to the ring. Evolution comes out. They're standing on the stage. They're doing their little posing. They got the Evolution music playing, and all of a sudden, Ric Flair walks out. Telling you what, dude, the crowd will pop huge when that happens.
I think I'm with you. Gives me goosebumps thinking about it because I could just see them standing up there posing, just like you say, and then like they kind of part ways, and then here comes Ric Flair.
Here comes Flair, and then they all four walk down to the ring,
dressed to the nines. He's ready to do his thing. Now, my version I think is just as effective, but I would like to see it happen prior to the match because I'm not 110% sure, just like you, that after Extreme Rules, Evolution will be around. So my thing is maybe this next Monday Night Raw or the Monday after, whatever, you have a backstage shot of the three guys sitting there talking, and Triple H is the authority. He's running his lips about whatever he's talking about, being best for business, and all of a sudden you hear the door open and you see him look behind camera and ask, to the guy that walked in or something, well, it took you long enough to get here, or where have you been? And all of a sudden you hear that famous woo, and into the screenshot walks Ric Flair, with Ric Flair's typical fashion, getting dressed to the nines, hair slicked back, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, jet flying, son of a gun that he is, say, I heard you putting the band back together, and you can't have the band without its leader. And then you've got the reforming of Evolution right then and there. And I think that would get probably just as big as pop as yours.
I got to admit, yes, that would be really cool to see it that way. And yes, it would get a huge pop. The only difference is you get a huge pop on camera, in the backstage area, or do you get the huge pop on the stage? I don't know. Either way, you're going to get a huge pop.
Absolutely.
The fans are going to go crazy about it.
So you got the reforming and Evolution, and let's just even say that Ric Flair does make it back. Do you think Evolution has a sustainable role?
No. You've got Triple H, Batista, and Randy Orton. All three of them want to be the heavyweight champion. And they all three want to take Daniel Bryan down. All three of them think they have a legitimate reason to be the guy that should face Daniel Bryan. And no, I think they're going to implode on themselves and break up.
There's too much ego and not enough room for all three of them.
Exactly.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. And much as I would love to see them stay and have a sustainable role, I just don't see how you can wash out the storylines that you've got building with the three of them. Now, whether or not Triple H has another run in him or not, that's a different topic for a different day.
Right.
But the two that you've got going right now is Daniel Bryan and Batista, Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, and Batista, or vice versa. Those three are interchangeable as the storyline that has been written, but there's just too much ego for one faction. They all three want to have the same goal, and there's just not enough room for.
Yeah, and last week I had mentioned that I didn't think it would be a 3-on-3 6-man tag match because I thought it would be an 8-man tag match because I did not see that Daniel Bryan and Kane could be a main event match. Well, this week on Raw, they kind of hinted at the fact that Kane is putting his mask back on and he's going to go back to the Big Red Monster. Now that could be a main event match. Corporate Kane versus Daniel Bryan, nobody's going to care about that. It's going to be one of those things. And Kane, Corporate Kane can still put on a great match, but nobody's going to care about it because it's Corporate Kane. He puts the mask back on with the hair and red and the fire and red and black outfit. Yes, all of a sudden now the crowd's going to be invested in it. So take back what I said last week about I thought the fact that it was going to be an 8-man tag match. And I think what they've done is they've done something very smart. They've turned Corporate Kane potentially, which is what it looks like they're doing, into the Big Red Monster. And now I think they're onto another thing, which adds a fourth person into that whole interchangeable mix that you were talking about.
I have to admit at WrestleMania and the weeks, the week after, and the matches that in essence, quote unquote, Corporate Kane's been in, he comes out to the ring and dress slacks, a belt, and penny loafers, and a A-top tank top. we know you got wrestling gear, Kane. What, you just didn't pack it that week, or you left it at the cleaners? What? Can you put on some wrestling clothes and be here for this match? But no, he comes out, like he just got out from behind a desk writing an email to Linda McMahon about how catering stunk this week or something like that. I'm excited that we're going to see Kane as Kane and not as corporate Kane.
I'm excited about that too. I've not liked corporate Kane. I liked it when it first started, but it got old really quick. So I'm excited to see Kane come back.
Absolutely. Talking about re-signings and things that are happening, for about a month or so now, we've kind of been following on the forums and stuff that potentially Colt Cabana could be coming in as an announcer for WWE, which, where are you going to stick him? Are you going to make SmackDown a 3-man unit like Raw? Because, we don't have Jerry the King Lawler on SmackDown. He's just strictly Raw. How's that going to fare for Colt Cabana?
Well, these rumors have been going around for a while. Ever since CM Punk's and his pipe bomb. Colt Cabana got hired by the WWE. He got fired by the WWE. Now, for months now, there's been these rumors that the WWE wants to bring him in as an announcer. And you know where I think he would be best if they brought him in as an announcer? I think he would be best at NXT.
That's that's an up and coming push that they've got going on the network.
Right.
I think that'd be huge for him. Has he fizzled out in his wrestling career, and that's why we're bringing him in as an announcer, or?
He hasn't fizzled out at all. I mean, Colt Cabana is still a huge independent wrestling scene name. He's still big on the independent scene. But if WWE wants to bring him in, there's something that they don't see in him as a wrestler. But he's done podcasts, he's done animated wrestling shows on the internet. The dude can talk. He's funny. And so WWE, if they're going to do the smart thing and bring Colt Cabana in, the only thing they can see for him to do is to talk and be an announcer. He would not make a good manager for someone. So if you're going to have a mouthpiece for something, you put him in at an announcing desk.
Could that be a start of an angle for him? Maybe the start of a storyline that draws him into the ring?
Could. It very well could. I mean, especially if you put him in NXT. Because that gives him the opportunity to step from behind the desk out into the ring and maybe get involved once in a while to prove to the WWE brass, Triple H, that he is worthy of being a WWE superstar. And if that were to happen, Colt Cabana and CM Punk are best friends in real life, so maybe that could be enough to bring CM Punk back.
Yeah, and we all know CM Punk's mentioned him a time or two in promo, simply by first name, which bringing him back, I would think that may be potential for a heck of a tag team right there to develop even better, their tag team division.
Heck of a tag team, or even potentially a heck of a feud.
Yep, absolutely.
I think there might be a little more money in a feud, because if you're going to talk about tag teams, I think you got to talk about bringing up the Ascension from NXT. I think that's going to do huge things for the tag team division.
Absolutely. I can't wait for Ascension to come up. I'm looking forward to Sami Zayn.
Right.
The man that gravity forgot.
Right.
I mean, you've got a lot of potential a lot of talent that they have tapped into, and I think now they're just waiting for the call from the major league to
waiting for the right time is really what they're waiting for.
Bring them up. So, well, hey, we've had a lot here happen at Two Wrestling Fans this week. We've got ourselves a YouTube channel going. It's TWO Wrestling Fans. You can find our first episode there. This will be up shortly there too. We also now have an email at Two Wrestling Fans, TWO Wrestling Fans at yahoo.com. Feel free to email us there. We also now have Twitter, which is 2, and this is the opposite. That's the number 2, at Two Wrestling Fans. So feel free to tweet to us. Send us any feedback that you may have. Subscribe and follow our YouTube account. Leave comments. We really want to make this as much interactive as it is just us talking. So, get out there, follow us on Twitter, comment questions, any sort of criticism that you may have about what we have to say. We're going to take it to heart, try to make this as interactive as possible. And hopefully next week we actually will have some people that will have tweeted us questions, comments, concerns, whatever, and we can highlight that as well. So I think we're on to something here, Mike. Looking forward to picking our brains a little bit of what we've seen in the past wrestling in wrestling history and what's coming up and what's going down coming down the pipe for us in the wrestling ring.
I'm definitely looking forward to what's coming up. Personally, I can't wait till we get to like the week before a pay-per-view and we start making our pay-per-view picks. That's going to be fun.
That'd be a blast.
And I want all the fans to join in and give us their pay-per-view picks. We're coming up on Extreme Rules, so we're only a couple weeks away from it. So
start thinking about your picks for that. Maybe even what you might think would be a match that you'll see there. Let us know because we'll talk about it. We'll talk about our ideas for it, whether it's bad, good, or indifferent. I'm sorry if you give us a match and we feel it might not be a good match, but we'll talk about it. We'll tell you why it may or may not be, and we'll be more than happy to take any comments and criticism that you may have about what we think. Well, this is an open forum. We don't want to be just two guys sitting back here talking about what we think. We want to hear what you think as well.
We do want to hear what you think. And I just want to say, you know what we are?
We're two
wrestling fans.